In today's video, I'm sitting down with Nathan, a
23-year-old sales professional living in Johannesburg, South Africa.
He is another Brit who is living in Johannesburg, and we are going to be getting a little insight into his lifestyle and story.
Welcome to my £2,100 a month luxury townhouse here in Fourways, Sandton in Johannesburg. Now, it's a 3-bedroom house, currently staying all by myself. It has a garden, a pool. I order Uber Eats every day. I'm a very busy person, so I don't have time to cook and clean. This is the central area where it's just very nice. You wake up in the morning and you see some trees. Yeah, that's my bedroom, master bedroom. Over there is my bedroom that I never actually use. So if you come here, there's a wraparound balcony. If you're like a very young professional who's looking for, I don't know, more lifestyle, this probably isn't the best area. If you want to see my office, let's come over here. I do remote sales.
What is remote sales?
Remote sales is basically selling anything expensive online. So that could be as low as a $1,000 fitness program to as high as a multi-million-dollar piece of a business, for example. This is my 2-car garage, but there's no cars inside. For me, I get around using Uber and Bolt most times, and they sometimes come all the way through here. They pick me up, or I can go to the gate. And Uber and Bolt is very, very inexpensive. You know, I usually spend, how much do I spend? It depends what kind of trip I do. So if I'm going from here in Fourways to Midrand, it might cost me about 100 Rand. To be very honest with you guys, I couldn't even afford Uber in the UK because I would be getting TFL everywhere. Uber is very, very expensive. You'd be spending 50, 60 pounds for a decent sized trip. If you're doing that several times a week, you know, it gets very, very pricey. Okay, so this is the gym. I try to go every other day, so it's like 3 to 4 times a week. And it's, as you can see, it's always empty.
How do you say your lifestyle has changed?
Genuinely speaking, I feel like everything is just much easier because I feel like in London, not to say I was struggling, I mean, I was still doing all right for myself, but I just feel like I'm just having a better quality of life. Everything's more affordable here. There's better lifestyle here. The weather's nicer, which is a big thing. I was living with my grandparents because I'm a single mum, and she didn't really have, she didn't have the money, but yeah, she didn't have the money to really look after me.
So what brought you to Johannesburg?
After my 3 months in Cape Town, I started realizing a lot of the, I'll say, social things and even celebrities and just everyone is in Joburg. I feel like Joburg is really the heart of South Africa. I feel like Cape Town, what I've experienced is that it's very, very beautiful, it's very, very aesthetic, but it's also very, very cliquey and very, very quiet. And I felt like living in Joburg was just where everything is, and I wanted to be where everyone was.
When I say oh, whatever, I'm in South Africa, people always assume that it's Cape Town, but it's when I went there, but I came to Joburg first, and I'm happy I did it the other way round. When I came to Joburg the first time, you just kind of feel I felt like I assimilated very easily, whereas when I went to Cape Town, I felt like I was back in Europe again. It was very white, very old, and I was like, I'm not leaving the UK to go and experience something different, but then you feel like you're back in the UK again. So, and I'm not really a beach person, so that side of things didn't really allure me. What do the people who you grew up with think about you moving to an African country?
I heard it all. So when I first moved to Dubai, there were still opinions at home, what is he doing? Is his money legit? What's really going on? It was a bit of a shock that I went to Dubai, but they thought I was going to be back within 3 months. Dubai made sense because you see a lot of millionaires moving to Dubai, and it's more of a popular destination. But going to South Africa, it was a bit of a black sheep move, because especially my family, they're very, very old-fashioned in the way they think about things, and they feel like South Africa, obviously there is a lot of crime. I haven't experienced anything whilst I've been here. So my mum was obviously very worried, me coming here and hearing about all the crime and all the bad things happening here. And obviously things like racism and apartheid, people just had a lot of opinions. But I've been here for a year and I feel like people just don't really care as much, to be honest with you. They've seen me move here, enjoy myself. So it's they're not really bothered.
Like the slogan of my channel is like building wealth with no borders, and the idea is that like if you have a more international mindset about things, then you can build wealth a lot easier. So how do you feel like moving here has kind of like impacted your finances and stuff?
I haven't done like an Excel sheet on my finances when I was in UK compared to here, but I can just see the difference by just cost of living and everything else. Obviously, like you said, one of the biggest reasons, it's something that I didn't really notice when I first, in fact, no, when I first went from Dubai to Cape Town and I noticed how little I was spending, even things like Uber. I was spending, I think in Dubai I was spending, because I was living not in the central part, but like on the outskirts, and I was spending easily £1,500 a month on like just taxis. It was crazy. But then when I look at my cost of living here, it significantly reduced. I feel like the biggest reason why I've decided to stay here and build a base here is because I'm able to stretch my pound a lot further than what I had when I was living in Dubai and also living in London. But in London, I was living with my grandparents. I wasn't really spending much money. And that's allowed me to then reinvest into things like education, mentorships and things of that nature. So rent is probably my biggest expense. I'm spending about £2,100 a month. And obviously bills as well. So that's pretty pricey. But again, I'm probably going to be moving soon to somewhere a little bit more affordable and just like for just me, because it's a 3-bedroom house with myself and I feel like there's a lot of stuff I'm just not using. Obviously my business, I'm investing a couple thousand a month into that in terms of like content creation, editors, sometimes ad spend.
You spend a lot of money on food.
Not really.
How much does it come up to?
What, Uber Eats?
Yeah.
A month, probably £600 a month.
What do you think it is that gives you the kind of urge to get up and move and actually like, because a lot of people are afraid in the online working space in terms of like people who are nomads and stuff like that. I feel like, or people who work remotely, there is that culture of like, just go live in Thailand, Bali or whatever. So do you think it's that, or like what has given you the courage to get up and actually move?
The way I moved is very different to how most people do it. So I didn't just pack up my bags and leave. It was like I was taking like little breadcrumbs one step, then I took a step further. So for example, I first went to Dubai on a 3-month holiday, and I actually genuinely thought I'll be back in 3 months. I did not think I would go to Cape Town. Whilst I was in Dubai, I was told to visit Cape Town. I mean, Cape Town's always been on the bucket list for me, but I just thought I'd just go and have a quick holiday. I booked a 1.5-month trip to Cape Town, and I thought I'd be back in Dubai and then go back to London. But I ended up loving it so much, I extended my stay for another 1.5 months, and then eventually I was like, you know what, I've been here for 6 months already, may as well just move here. So it was like a very gradual process, and I feel like if you're trying to move to another country, I would take it more gradually if you're going to make that long-term decision, because when I first started, I definitely was not prepared to live. If you told me I'd be living in South Africa a year ago, I would have not believed you.
That's actually smart. That's what we like at the Professional Network in Dubai. That's what we tell people to do if you want to move to Dubai. Like, don't just get up and come. Like, come for a bit, spend the summer, or spend a couple weeks or whatever. Like, meet people and then like make the move. It does make it easy. I think if you travel a lot as well, like it gets easier. Like, to see a Caribbean person move into Africa, even though I do think it's a lot more popular now, like people going to Ghana especially, but that is not necessarily a transition that you'd see every Caribbean make the move to Africa, because you could have easily gone to Jamaica or, you know, whatever. So what do you think? Do you think there's something in the way you grew up, even just being Black British, that probably made it easier for you to assimilate into an African country?
When my grandparents were growing up, and they obviously immigrated from the Caribbean to the UK, like that's because there was more opportunities in the UK back then, right? But with remote work now, you can literally work from anywhere you want in the world, whether it's Southeast Asia, Latin America, in my case, South Africa. And it's actually better for us to make that decision rather than staying in London. Like, you don't necessarily need to stay in one place all the time. So I feel like 2 reasons for me is, firstly, I'm just very used to being around African people. So particularly in South Africa, it was very easy for me to transition. But also for remote workers, this is very easy. It's very like common transition as well.
Part of why people don't make the movies because you have to find work, right? When you work for yourself or you work online, it's easy to move to another country. But like, for example, as someone who worked in investment banking, like where you find in a remote role, like it's just not something that is all that feasible. So I've had to make adjustments to create a financial situation for myself that even though when I moved to Dubai that I moved with a job, but like moving here, like I would not move with a job here. What are some of the like cons of what are some for the South Africans that are watching, there are pros and cons of every single country. It just is what it is. Like, it's nothing to be sensitive or emotional about. But when I make my videos for people like me, right? So people who have grown up in the UK or the US or whatever, who are thinking about moving to whatever different country. So this information is for them.
First thing is obviously like energy problems. So there's been an ongoing problem with load shedding. Especially in this complex, they still haven't fixed it. They told me, they promised me when I moved in there's going to be like this backup power.
Apparently load shedding is done now.
Okay, so load shedding is done, but they replaced it with something new. I think it's called load reduction. It's not as common, but they don't tell you when it's gonna. So I've had power cuts randomly. Like,
you still have, when was the last time you had it?
About 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
And it lasted for 4 hours. And I had calls on. Like, for me, I cannot have the power go out because I need to be taking calls and meetings all the time. I've had very low pressure on the water. So water's also a problem. Sometimes I've had water shedding.
Because I live on a hill as well. Like last week, I think water went out at least 5 days. There was like either no water or very low pressure water. So can definitely agree with that.
Next con I'd say is safety. Now for me, I'm very, very blessed not to be in a situation where I've experienced any petty thefts, any sort of crime. However, I've got to constantly be on alert all the time because I'm not gonna have my phone just hanging out in my pocket because some people will take it and steal it. If you decide to make decisions to move here, just do your research on the best areas to move to because not every area is gonna be a good area. Places in Sandton, Midrand, there are some places in the south as well that are quite nice. I haven't really personally been to them, just do your research on the best neighborhoods to live because you don't wanna be in a place where you feel very unsafe. And
the safety for me isn't that big of an issue personally because I don't go out that much. Everywhere that I need to go to is very close by, so I have a lot of the amenities either within my apartment complex or like across the road literally. And then if anything, I'll go to like Sandton and its suburbs, which is also quite safe. So I don't worry about my safety per se, but then I don't like you go out like to parties and stuff like that. So maybe in those kind of environments you probably want to be a bit more watchful.
Yeah, I definitely feel like South Africa is definitely a great place to visit, whether it's Cape Town, Johannesburg or Durban. I've not been to Durban yet, but I've heard some really great things about it. But yeah, definitely it's a very great place to live, affordable, nice lifestyle, nice weather as well. I remember living in London, grey skies, just very, very depressing. So definitely from a lifestyle point of view, it's a great place to live. However, in terms of becoming a nomad, if I'm being very honest with you, the process of actually living here and staying here permanently has been quite difficult. I've been applying for a visa for the past, how long now? Like, I started the application process back in January and I sent off the application documents in May. And I'm still waiting for the result. And I feel like when I was living in Dubai, it was very easy to get a visa. You just pay them the money and then you get it within a month. They are making it easier. And I do believe they are coming up with a digital nomad visa. However, black man timing, African timing, they say one thing and it takes a while. But aside from that, Johannesburg is an amazing place to visit.